Yes. Welcome to another episode of Lopez Radio. I am your host, Lopez, at Lopez Radio for all social media, Lopez Radio on Twitch, and LopezRadio.com is where the show lives. Joining me today is a gentleman who I met through Twitch. We've played some games together. We've watched each other's streams. He's a really, really interesting dude. Jeff, a.k.a. GamesWithDeath. You can follow him at GamesWithDeath on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and of course Twitch. So welcome him in. How you doing, buddy?
I'm good. Do not forget to mention our Spanish love affair that one summer.
Oh yes, that's right.
That on the record.
Love on the Border, I think the book's called.
Yeah, it was. It's gonna be a movie soon, everybody. It's gonna be great.
It's gonna be awesome.
Great.
Well, I hope you're doing well, man. We just wrapped up doing Offline with Lopez Radio, which is the YouTube show, and we got deep quick. Yeah. It was great.
Yeah, we got really deep in that. That was wow. Holy shit! That was a spiritual experience. I'm ready.
I think honestly that stuff is the what we got into was important. I don't think people understand the nuance of that when they are looking at being a content creator. They don't always realize what they're putting out there, and we don't have to like hash back into everything. But I don't think a lot of people have in mind like I got to be careful. I gotta put up some boundaries, and I think you can also relate that to life, right? You can be like, when you're figuring people out that high school, college age, when you're like, oh, I don't have my, I don't have my parents or whoever here to kind of guide me through this because I'm off by myself doing my own thing. You kind of start to figure out, oh, this person's not a great person after you've been hanging out with them for like a year. You're like, oh, this is not good at all.
You're like, yeah, it's a place of growth in a lot of ways. I think it's funny too that it's I think this is when people talk about gamers and they're like, remember when we did talk a little bit about, like, oh, you're not doing anything with life, you're playing video games, all that kind of stuff. I think that gaming and even like the interaction that you get with like content creation is just, you develop a lot of skills. Like, I mean, it's not a waste of time in a lot of ways. Like if you have someone who's young and they want to get into content creation, I don't think that it's necessarily you should like discourage them from it. I think you should set realistic expectations as to what they're going to be, and how it's going to go. But there's a lot of hard work that goes into it. Like a lot. If you want to make anything as far as like make a dent into the Twitch audience or make a dent into any kind of content community, there's a lot of work. A lot of work that goes into it, and it's also a lot of skill sets that you need to do. I've seen some of the best leaders that I've ever seen have come from Twitch, and I'm talking like, I mean, we talked about a little bit of the military experience and stuff like that, but there's definite leaders that are on Twitch that do amazing stuff and like have amazing communities and lead communities and like show what it takes to actually be an effective leader in a business world or in another setting.
Yeah. You can always tell when you're watching someone who's like, okay, this person absolutely, like, you watch some of those people and you listen to them talk and you're like, oh, this person, even if they weren't doing Twitch, they're going to be good at whatever it is they're doing because they know how to address the situation, to read a room, to, set the boundaries we were talking about in that offline episode. And it's always amazing to see that, right? Like to see someone who's like really comfortable sitting there because, maybe at first you or whoever wasn't comfortable where they're at. And you got to work your way up to that thing. And I think what a lot of people find is that they want to instantly be there. And it's just like, that's not the case. That is built over time. That is having situations like we talked about on offline where it was like, I'd never dealt with this before. So you dealt with it like you thought you should and realized later, like, maybe that wasn't the best way to do it, trial and error.
Also, it's a lot of, there is a very high degree of luck when it comes to things.
Oh, yeah.
I believe in luck I believe in luck when it comes to to doing what we do a lot. But I also very, very, very much believe that you can make your own luck in streaming. I don't believe that. I think that if your content is good and you can entertain one person, and your content's good, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
I think it just comes down to, it's like real estate is like all about location, and this is all about content. It's always been about content. The content matters the most. At the end of the day, if your content is good, it doesn't matter who rates you. Like, a lot of people have this blame game, I think, that they say, well, I didn't get this rate, or you got lucky, or you know this person, you know that person.
Yeah.
None of that means anything.
None of it. Yeah.
If your content is good, you could be a person who opens up Twitch and you come in here and you stream for 6 hours a day, and you don't interact with anybody outside of Twitch. You don't talk to people. You don't play with other people. If your content's good, people will follow you, and you will you will rise.
Right.
It's just a fucking fact. And there's a lot of people who just don't get that fact, and they blame everything else. It's like, bro, make good content. Just make good content.
Well, and sometimes that just comes with time. Like, you got to find your groove. You got to find the thing that interests you to keep going, right? And not just try to chase the dragon, so to speak. Like, oh, I got to do this because this worked for this guy. Like, I think some of the worst thing you can do, like, and that's what I'm trying to do with offline, is talk to content creators of all types. Like, I mean, I had my buddy who's an actor on. I had, like, you know, I'm gonna have some friends on that are artists and stuff like that. Like, I think when you're doing any kind of content, whether it's digital or physical, like, you honestly just, it needs to be genuinely yours. And if you're chasing like a video on how to get there faster, you're probably going at it the wrong way, because I feel like there's a lot of that out there, and a lot of it's terrible. So, you know, I tried to do offline to be like, no, let's talk to content creators and get like into how they got there, not like tips on how to do what they did. You know, I think that's just terrible.
There's a certain point, I think, that the best how-to videos and stuff like that, or how-to content that's out there, because there's a market for aspiring streamers and stuff. You see that a lot. I still use that. I still like dive into those videos because they're just so useful. They teach you something new or something like that, or you're like, oh, that could be kind of cool if I could use that, or it could have a new effect or something like that. Those are great. But it is not. There's no magic formula to it, right?
It's not gospel. Yeah.
No. Yeah. If I only had this plugin on this stream, then I would have been fine and all that. It's like, don't put your stuff into that. It is make something that people want to watch. It's the simplest thing. It's like, well, how do I be a successful painter? I don't know, paint good paintings. Right? Because the painting has to stand on its own, right?
Yep.
Like, I mean, everybody's like, Van Gogh's an amazing painter. He's incredible.
Yeah.
It was amazing. Why? How did he do that? Well, you know what? He went to a follow painting convention, and they all followed each other. And then that's how he got bigger. That's exactly it. Yeah.
You buy my painting, I'll buy your painting.
Yeah. If you buy my painting, I'll buy yours. And that's how he became, well, he actually didn't know it in his lifetime, but whatever. Oh. Maybe Van Gogh's not Picasso's a better. Yeah. That's how Picasso got big.
Sure.
Because he actually saw his own success, but
he got out there and networked.
Yeah, that's what it was. He got raided by another painting studio, and that's how he got big. He got lucky, man. I don't understand. Like, no.
He spent time in another painter's community for a little while and got to know everybody.
He went into a gallery and he put up a paint. This is fucking people in chat. He put up a fucking painting of his own next to the other painting. Banksy does this too, by the way, which is actually funny.
Yeah,
but I say that, and that's how he got big. No, that's not how it is. Don't run into somebody's chat and like start saying, "Oh man, I was just going to check in the stream because I was going to start the stream up right now." And, oh, sorry for the all caps. Like,
oh yeah. All right, dudes, have a good one. I'm gonna go stream.
Yeah.
Have a good rest of your time. Just wanted you to know I'm streaming over on streamstream.com. You know, it's just like, geez. But yeah, I mean, it's all that. I think people just feeling their way through, and I think you're right in a way. It's like, make something that people want to watch, but so you got to have that common ground, right? But you also have to have something that is genuinely yours, right? That is absolutely that sets you apart in some way. I'm not saying that it's impossible, it's impossible to get where you want to get by just not doing something like that, but you're going to be easily forgotten if you're doing the same exact thing that someone like a Shroud is doing, or if you want to think about a TV show like something like Pardon the Interruption on ESPN. So if you're doing the same exact format, then everyone's going to be like, well, why are you just copying this? So it has to be uniquely yours.
It's like, oh, you pull off the same things that Shroud does. Oh, but I already have a Shroud, so why the hell would I come to your stream? I think it's funny too is when you talk about genuinely your own, I think the confusing part for a lot of people comes from is that they go, well, he's just good at the game.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yes, he's good at the game, and he does the game thing and all that kind of stuff. But I think that games are like to make them. If you want to go with like the games are art kind of thing. They express their personalities through the game.
Sure.
It's not that they're good at the game. Like, yes, they're good at the game and all that kind of stuff, but they come up with something creative to do in game, and then they want to go try it, and then they do it. Mm-hmm. And that shows their creativity. So like it's kind of like in football. It's like if you were to take like if you were to like cloak somebody in like you take two like legendary quarterbacks, right? Like you take a Tom Brady and you take like a Joe Montana or something, right? And then you put on like a costume or something on each of them that you can't tell their identity, right? You'd be immediately able to tell, and they have the same body size, right? Like all things.
Sure, yeah.
You'd be immediately able if you were discerning enough and you watched enough of these guys play, you'd be easily tell exactly who is who, right?
Right.
Because that's their personality. That's where they express it. You don't necessarily is the basis of Twitch gaming. I mean, I guess in a lot of ways, hasn't always been. It's usually actually started as I believe it started as just a talk show kind of site.
Yeah, like basically IRL was like what the original Justin TV or whatever it was.
And you can express your personality in other ways. It doesn't need to be through like microsecond dexterity of your gaming mouse or some shit like that.
Yeah, and I mean, take this and apply it to whatever you want. I did radio. We were talking just before we went live. Like I did radio for a long time. I've been podcasting for a long time, and look, you have to figure out what you like because you're going to have to do a lot of it, whatever it is, right? So you have to like what you're doing, and then at some point you got to stand out. Like how many podcasts are out there? Millions.
Yep.
Millions, so many. And I think that's just the hill you have to climb. Like it's not, even if you were, because I think a lot of people get hung up in that, like, man, if I was 10 years earlier to the game, like if I was 10 years earlier and I knew all this stuff I know now, it's like, well, you're not, you don't. Yeah.
Why are you ruminating on something that's never going to happen? Who cares?
Right.
It's like, you're not. If I was 10 years earlier, if I was Elon Musk's long lost love child,
sure,
then I would be really, really rich, but I'm not.
Yeah.
So what am I pining for that at all? Yeah. There's like this kind of, I think there's kind of like a basic kind of thing because we're dealing with a lot of like very young people who haven't yet discovered, things like, wow, like hard work matters. Oh shit.
Yeah.
Oh shit. Like wait a second. So I got to show up every day to this job. Yeah, you got to show up every day, and I got to like work really hard, and then I can get ahead. It's like, you don't just get to show up once a week and then get promoted. It's like you really need to work hard and discover things. And a lot of that hard work is changing your conceptions of what you think how things work. And that's the hard.
Right.
I think that's harder than hard work, quote unquote. I think people can play a game for 15 hours a day if they want to and work really hard at streaming, pushing out all this content. But God, if you went up to them and said, hey, by the way, if you talk to your chat every 5 minutes and change a little bit about this, you do a lot better. They're like, no, I'm not doing that.
And then you're like, by the way, that's like a fourth of what you need to be doing too. Let's talk about what you're doing when you turn off the camera. Like, and then they're like, what? I got to do what? I think there's, it kind of goes toward a lot of I think just a lot of what everyone kind of feels like. And you can't really just pin it on young people. I think that even people that are, our age and older have just gotten used to that being like, well, I want to watch that, so I'm going to watch it now. I want to do this. I want to do it now. So, and it just doesn't, success in any medium doesn't really work like that. And I think people are under the misconception that it does.
Yeah, you're right about not putting it up on because there are people who are younger. I won't generalize that way because that's just ageism and that's bad. But there are definitely people who don't. There are like people who get it. Like I know some streamers who are very, very young, and you're like, you watch them, you're like, man, I feel like I'm talking to like someone who's like 50 years old, and just in a young person's body, because you're like, oh, they get it. They're saying all the right things. They've matured and they've gotten this. And then you get some people who are just like, like this person's quite. You're like, oh, they're still not mature enough to the point, and they've been on the planet for like 55 years, and you're like, okay, this is really, really strange. So yeah, it's definitely not confined to age. I think that Twitch has, for myself personally, I think it has forced me to give up a lot of conceptions that I had about things, in good ways. I think that like I'm very happy and proud to be like, I'm not a quote top 100 hunt player. I'm not like one of those guys. Like I'm not like, on the leaderboards kind of stuff. I mean, actually, I think I was like in the top 1,000 for kills for a while. Before they took that stuff away, I barely ever looked at it.
Sure.
But can I generate at my age like a clip that looks pretty good? Yeah, hell yeah, I can. You know, maybe I don't do it every match or every 20 minutes like some people do, but man, I can still slap some fools, Like, I mean, that's really cool. That's one of those things where that's helped me gain a lot of confidence in that respect. I don't look at my gameplay and go like I'm going pressing the W key and going forward. Like you just have that conviction.
Yeah.
You can do it. And it's not age bound. What is there's a TikToker. She's a tactical grandma.
Oh.
Have you ever seen
I think I have actually, yeah.
I'm like, what is this? You're sitting here watching these clips, and you're like, oh my god, she's incredibly good, incredibly good, and you're like, she's 65 years old. It don't matter. Toast Rack is like, he's like in his 60s, and he's like an amazing content creator for EFT. So it's not like age isn't a thing. It's which is amazing because the possibilities are kind of endless, as to what you can do.
I think a lot of it comes down to just expectation setting. Like, I think that's where a lot of people really fuck themselves, is like they expect one thing and they don't know how to adjust when that one thing doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Because that is, to me, like in any realm of anything, right? Like, I learned all that when I was working, when I went for a promotion, I didn't get it, or when I messed something up at work, or had to go back and fix something that the team did wrong, or something like that. Like that is all about expectation setting, of like knowing, okay, my managers might be talking me up and like they might be really confident that, in my abilities to get this promotion, but sometimes someone better applies for the job. Like they're more prepared. They've got more experience. They've got better answers than you did. And like, you have to be okay with that. And that's what I used to tell when I was doing, like, when I was back working in the Best Buy days, right? Like when I was a supervisor and I had people from under me that wanted to go for a promotion, I would be like, all right, none of this is about what you're going to do when you get this position, right? If you get this position, you're going to be happy. You're going to get more money. You're going to, have all these adjustments. But what you need to be ready for is what happens if you don't get it? Like, how are you going to do that? Are you going to just do shitty at your job? Are you just going to just kick back and just be pissed about it? Or are you going to just kind of take it in stride and figure out what to say better next time, or how to be more prepared next time? Whatever that is. Because a lot of times, especially in retail, you're dealing with a lot of people who are usually younger, just figuring this stuff out. So a lot of these people are just applying for their first promotions ever. So they're ready to, reap all the glory, but they don't. You throw them a curveball, and they're like, I don't know what to do now. I hate this.
I have benefited. I think that this is a life experience that even though some people don't, there's two things here. I think that having a failure in your life is something that everybody should go through. And I'm not talking like a small failure, like, oh, I failed the test or something. I'm talking like you fucked up. Like you fucked up big time. Like and I'm not talking like morally. Like moral failures are a different thing. Like if you compromise your morality, that's something that's very hard to fix. You can fix it, but that's something that will set you back in a lot of ways. And maybe you needed to fail in that way to find that. But I think that I don't even think I've ever told this story, but when I was in the military in Canada, I went to so every single summer you go to like phase training, which is literally the hardest courses you'll ever do. There's some of the hardest military courses in the world. And I went one summer for what's called phase 3 infantry, and phase 3 infantry is it's the hardest thing you'll ever do. Like it is. I've been told, like, objectively from U.S. Army Rangers who are like went through Ranger school, and I'm like, what's the hardest school you ever been to? And they're like, well, this course up in Canada. And it was like, really? And they're like, yeah. They found the Canadian courses like just a lot harder in a lot of ways, because they don't fuck around up there. They don't have the time for it. They don't have a big military. It's like if you're junk, they get rid of you, they fire you, you're out of the military. It's over.
So is it more elemental? Is it just because it's more in the elements, or is it just the whole thing all around
harder? It is mentally and physically and emotionally just the hardest thing I've ever done.
Right.
And I went one summer, and I didn't prepare as much as I should have, and I failed. Right. Came back, had to be like, my commander was like, they're talking like, they're going to drown you out of the thing. They were like, you're done. I pretty much was like, my military career is over, like, I mean, and I got like I think they do this where they're like, okay, we're going to give you one more shot, but it's not a guarantee. There's still people who come out of that office after they fail, and they're like, I'm a civilian, I'm not in the military anymore. But I went and I failed spectacularly. And it was the greatest thing to ever happen to me. I was like I think I was like 21 years old or something like this. And I went back I went and I got another chance, and I went prepared, and I went back and I smoked the course, and they had rankings, and I think I placed like 4th out of like 36 people.
Wow.
And I was like, this is the great, and it taught me so much about, number one, not fearing failure or fearing success, because you can fear success too. But it taught me about that there is something that I can latch on to. There's something there that's like, it's okay to learn from your mistakes, and you have to learn from your mistakes. I think gaming culture in a lot of ways doesn't do that.
Right.
I think some games do it. And this is kind of like the difference between when I come to like things like Escape from Tarkov, right? There's like, gaming is like supposed to be about, quote, entertainment, right? But it can also be about character. And I think like a game like Escape from Tarkov and Hunt to some extent, but I think Hunt is kind of like lessened this because they want to appeal to more people and stuff like that. I admire Tarkov more than I've admired any game that's ever come out. Well, maybe like in the Dark Souls kind of realm, right? Like even like Elden Ring or something like that. Is that the mess? And people complain, they're like, I need an easy mode for this, I need an easy mode for that, and it's like, I need this to change, and I need that. It's like, you're missing the fucking point. You are missing the fucking point about what those games are supposed to be. You are literally skipping over the part that can teach you to grow. And because people have been so taught and ingrained that unless you win, you're shit, it is not true. You can fail, and failing is a good thing. And when you learn from your failures and you grow up from your failures, you are a better person at the end. That's why things like EFT that can deal in Hunt can do this too. Hunt can deal you loss after loss after loss.
Yeah.
And it can take, like, I've seen it. Like, I've had it happen to me. I've had streams where I'm like, I didn't get a single kill all night. And then I've had streams where I didn't die all night and I just slapped servers all night. It is the benefits of failure is one of the things about gaming culture that is so good, that can be so good.
Yeah.
And I think that sometimes you see it on Twitch, that you see it in the streaming, that you can learn from that. You can choose to learn from your failures and see them as opportunities to grow, or you can feel shame, feel disappointment and criticism, feel all this stuff, and beat yourself up and take the wrong lesson from these things, and have to protect your fragile ego, because your fragile ego is apparently more important than actually growing as a person, and give into anger and give into resentment. Or you can grow up, and you can grow up right there, and you can do that in this field. It's there. Yeah. And that's why I love Tarkov. Tarkov is just, I get my ass kicked by Tarkov some days, and I sometimes I flourish in Tarkov on some days, and every single time that it happens, I'm like, this is an awesome opportunity.
Yeah, and to me, like the failure thing is huge for me, because it's one of my favorite. It's one of my favorite job interview questions, honestly. Like, what does failure mean to you? It's like the best question you can ask somebody, because it'll stump a lot of people. Because everybody knows what they're going to do. Like I was saying about the job interview, everybody knows what they do when they win. Everybody knows what they do when they do something really well. But like, you know, my answer to that question is always growth. Like, it's just growth. That's what failure means. Because if you fail, then like you said, you have something to retool on, something to learn on, but it's all in how you take that, right? So that's why you get, you know, if you watch, I used to watch a lot of MMA. I mean, a lot of MMA, and talk to a lot of journalists that covered MMA on my podcast. And you know, the thing that you see all the time is the champion who never loses, right? Like, this guy's on a 37 fight winning streak and blah blah blah, and like, you just see it at some point. They're comfortable. Like, I'm the champ, I'm the guy.
Yeah.
And
my viewer count is going to be high all the time.
Right. And then they get rocked one night, and now they're not the undefeated champ anymore. And now it's kind of like, so that's always how you can tell, like, all right, some come back, some get their belt back, a lot don't. Especially those people who have a long period of success and then nothing, right? Yeah. But you know, that's always like the test of a really good fighter, is like, can you lose and come back? Because you're not only having to rehone all your skills physically, but mentally is like the big one. Can you get your head out of that fight game? That's why there's fights, you know, not fight, but sports psychologists, you know, that they hire.
Yeah. I think sports psychology is also very applicable to gaming. I think people should read a lot of books on sports psychology if they want to be in gaming. Mm-hmm. I think they should. I think gaming has all of those human qualities that sports does. Like, the drama's there, the coming back from the failure is there, the clutching and all that kind of stuff, the overcoming of the adversity and all that kind of. It's all mental too. It's all mental. Yeah. Like I think it's a very human, a very big canvas upon which you can paint a lot of human drama on, and it's really cool to watch. I don't know, man. It just I think that a lot of people would just benefit from just sometimes taking a step back and just viewing what's going on around them. I think it's easy to get in tunnel. It happens to me. You get in tunnel vision, and you're like, yeah. This is what I'm doing. This is where I'm going. And then all of a sudden you look up and like, wait, I'm going to be 40 soon? Like, what's happening? Like, you know, just, it can be as small as that, or as small as like, I don't remember last week, you know? In ways, like if you don't, if you don't kind of pay attention and, you know, and you don't kind of keep tabs of what's going on around you, like, you can work to a point of like, being like, did I just work a lot, or was I on a bender? Like, I don't remember. But you know, it's interesting. You brought up your military service,
And I found out through listening to you on some other podcasts that not only were you in the Canadian military, you were in the U.S. military, and you've got dual citizenship. That's pretty crazy. I don't think. I mean, you're definitely the only person I know that has that going on.
I met a few. There's more than one or two that I've met of
Sure.
Canadians who come down and serve and stuff like that. There's a lot of people get automatic dual citizenship. A lot of Native American communities or First Nations communities do the dual service because they get both citizenships because of treaties and stuff like that in certain areas and stuff like that. So there's a lot of that. But yeah, I was dual citizenship by birth and did it, and it's a yeah.
So it was military was that in your family? Was that like a thing, or were you kind of the first to do it?
No, both my grandfathers had served, and I went in and I was very young and like 20 years old, and I think I was 19. Yeah, I was 19, 20. And I was just like, I just wanted to do something, and went in and I loved it. It was one of those things where it's like, okay, I'm good at this.
Right.
I'm good at this. Let's go.
Where do you feel like at the time, like, so no one knows what it's truly like to be in until they're there, right? So like, do you feel like at the time when you signed up, when you're like talking to the recruiter or whatever, it was like, did you feel like I need this is what I need in my life right now to kind of get things straight, or was it more of a I want to do this?
I don't think I had like a thought where I was like, I need this direction, or like I wanted to do it because I was intrigued by it.
Mm-hmm.
I started to, the guy, I remember the guy handing me a brochure. I remember the look of it, and he just handed it to me and he says, "This is for the infantry." And they had all like the different trades of all the brochures on the wall and stuff like that. And he handed me one and he's like, "This is for the infantry. It's the hard one." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And then I was like, "Oh, I'm going to be in the infantry. Like, I'm just going to do that."
Did you like all those kinds of hard challenges, like coming through middle and high school? Like you were like, I want the hard route.
No, I was a reprobate when I was younger. When I was the guy that probably needed to be in the military, but as soon as I got out, I was like, I don't know. I can't explain it. It wasn't one of those things where I was like, I don't think I was I did do sports and stuff like that in high school, and I had a lot of fun and stuff like that, but I did, do a lot of drugs and kind of like chill out with friends and skip school and like not really focus and not go to university right after school and stuff, and just a little aimless and stuff. And that's fine. People can do that kind of thing. And then I ended up, just joining, and I joined my unit and was just like, I was like, this is awesome. And then I remember my grandfather was an officer. He was 37 and a half years in the Air Force, in the Canadian Air Force, and was a pilot, a really accomplished guy. He passed away about 4 years ago now.
Wow.
But yeah, he was a big inspiration when it came to that a little bit. But like, I didn't go to the Air Force. I went into the infantry because it was hard. And it was just, it was just this, I was good at it. Like, I was like, okay, this is something I'm good at. Like I found something where I'm like, oh, I can have an effect on things. And then it just became, somebody had mentioned, hey, go we heard because you write a bio when you go in there, and they're like, oh, we heard your grandfather was an officer. Do you want to be one? Okay, well, this is what you got to do. You got to go get a degree. And I'm like, oh, okay, sure. I'll just go get a degree. And then it's different in Canada because you can actually get degrees and like they can be fairly inexpensive. At the time it was. And I just started to go to school, and then I started to keep doing the military, and you could do that at the same time. And they were like, okay, let's go. And I loved it. And I just became an officer, and then the next thing you know, you're leading people. And then next thing you know, you're just like, wow, you just become a person in a lot of ways. And it's great, and you grow up and you just finally actually start to have this confidence and this kind of like, a little bit more about who you are. Or you think you do. I don't think you really know who you are until you probably hit, post middle age. I don't think that people truly get to the point where I think you spend your entire life trying to figure that out, who you are.
Yeah.
And then when you actually really come to the answer, you're kind of like, oh, why didn't I just, that was that simple. I mean, if I had just known that a long time ago, I would have been okay, you know.
If I had just gotten into this 10 years ago, I'd be in a great position.
Yeah, like if I had just realized that I don't have to do certain things that I've been doing for decades, then I would be all right. And you just finally learn that, and you're just like, holy shit, that's an insight. That's an insight and a half. And then you don't really care about a lot of things. You don't really need to have this. I think you finally get rid of the need to prove yourself, prove yourself to other people, because you don't need to prove yourself to other people. The only person you got to prove yourself to is you. And even in that sense, it's like you should be very forgiving when it comes to proving yourself to yourself. As long as you're trying, as long as you're pushing forward and you're doing what you want to do, there's no reason to beat yourself up. But I think the hard part, when I see this a lot, and you get this in chat all the time, and I think it's almost like one of the big drivers when it comes to Twitch. It's like people want to be the best, right?
Sure, yeah.
Like, they've got to be like, there's a big reason why, like, you know, streamers, like, you know, you talk about like EFT and you talk about Landmark. It's like the reason he's got 10,000 people in there is because this guy is like really, really good, and people who want to emulate that go to there and they think that is the best thing that they, if I could just be like this guy, if I could just get a 6 PMC kill, or if I could go into hunt and just wipe a server like this guy over here, I then I'll be happy, and then this will be fine. And then it doesn't work like that.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's kind of a weird swath of people that are in there, right? You got the people that are aspiring, right? You got a lot of aspirers. Like, you know, I was watching a video once that was talking about, he was just kind of this guy was talking about his he moved from doing Twitch content to doing more pre-recorded like YouTube content, and he's just kind of talking about how that transition is. And he made a great point that I never really thought about. He's like, Twitch is like one of those places where you could be a creator, and at some point the people that you are that are in your audience that you're inspiring will one day, some of them will become competitors to you. Like, yeah, they can move on and do the thing you're doing because they see that it's possible to do. Like, I knew that streaming existed before I did it, obviously, but I didn't really fully understand it. And I was just like, I'm doing all this other stuff. I'm doing life. And, and then, I finally got into doing it, but it wasn't until watching people to be like, oh, okay, it's possible. Like, kind of like, what was the old thing that they said that when the ships arrived from Europe, that the Native Americans didn't even see it because they didn't even know, they couldn't fathom what it was. I don't remember what that paradox is called, but it's like, it's one of those things, like, until someone shows you that it's possible, you're
the guys who ran the 4-minute mile, they're like, nobody will ever break the 4-minute mile, and then two guys in the same race break the 4-minute mile, and it's like, oh, wait a second, that's like pioneer, like somebody who forges ahead and does those kind of things.
Yeah, the true pioneers are the people who just figured it out on their own and did it.
Yeah, it's funny. There's a really easy way to tell. There's a really easy way on Twitch to tell a certain type of personality from another type of personality when it comes to streamers, and it's the streamers who raid. If you're in big streamers who raid, right? Because big streamers, if you're a big streamer and you've got 20,000 people in your channel, your agents and like your people and all that kind of stuff, and the statistics will tell you, do not raid other people. Do not raid, because what you're doing is you're giving away your audience.
Yeah.
So they will not raid. Like they just won't. They'll do it every so often to like probably like, keep some kind of thing or something like that, but they will not raid other people. Right. Because it's not necessarily that their content is amazing. I mean, their content's good because they got there. They deserve that. But if like, say one guy has like 1,000 viewers and the next person in the channel has like 100 viewers, does that mean that guy's content is 10 times as better? No, it doesn't. Mm-hmm. It's just, that's the way Twitch works, right? It's a kingmaker system where people come in and they're like, they see like this number, they're like, oh, this guy's 1,000 viewers, he must be the best, click, and they click there, and then it compounds and it compounds and it compounds, and that's what happens because you're having new people come into the directory all the time. So what that guy at the top does is he's like, I'm not going to raid anybody. But big streamers who are like, oh, they do raid. And I know that there's a lot of different streamers out there that, like, there's certain ones that I watch that will just be like, okay, I'm going to raid somebody. That's how you tell if somebody's truly confident about themselves.
Yeah.
And they know what they're doing. And not that they know what they're doing, but what's really important to them. Like, I think it's a measurement of this person is like, this person's willing to be like, it doesn't matter. They can give that stuff away. They have faith in their own content. They have the confidence that they need to do to make it better. People will return to them. They're okay rating people every single other stream. I rate people I rate people every stream. I don't need to. Like, I mean, do I need, like, I mean, I'm very fortunate to have the audience that I do.
Right.
But yeah, I love dropping, 200-300 people on a smaller streamer. I like a guy walking to a channel. The guy's got like 10 people. You're like, this is awesome. I get to do this, and I get to like have that. To have that ability to do that for somebody is great. Even if at the end of the day it probably hurts your numbers a little bit, because maybe one of those people will come in. Like, I've had it where I had 3 years ago, I had kind of a large streamer kind of raid me, and there was like 3 or 4 people from that raid. They come into my channel every single day still.
Yeah.
Because and that was the transition, right? That was the leakage that this other streamer had. And I think that if you can do that, and you have the confidence to do that, and you want to do that, then you have a lot of faith in what you do and who you are as a content creator. So yeah.
It's what some people in my chat might call a big dick move, right? Like, you should be like, all right, whatever. Like, it's I don't mind this sharing this. Now, where some people might be like, sometimes I have talked to other creators where they're like, sometimes I only raid people I know because I find it hard to sign off on somebody that I don't know. And I understand that too, where you're kind of like, because if you send people over to someone who's really shitty toxic, right? And then they're just kind of like, so why did Death send me here? Like,
I've made that mistake before. I'm just like, every time I raid Curdy, oh my God, what have I done? What am I doing?
Right.
No, I'm just kidding. It's Hermit. Hermit's really the one that belongs to. No, it's Geef. Never. Geef. We all know it's Geef. No. I would say that's a good tip. Like, check out the content that the person's had. I've rated somebody and I'm like, oh no. Especially, it's happened in the Tarkov directory a few times where I'm just like, okay, it's time to make some connections over here. This would be kind of cool. And then you go raid and you're like, oh man, what did they just say? Did they really just say that?
I've made a mistake. Yeah.
I've made a mistake, chat. Please come back to my channel. And they're like, you actually, like, the next day you sign on stream and they're like, the mods are like, so Death, about that raid.
Yeah. About that. Let's not do that again. Yeah.
Yeah. We're not going to do that one again.
It's funny too, because it kind of almost relates to, when you're talking about like not mentioning the other, or not rating another person so you don't lose your audience. Like, there was like always a strict, in some stations would talk, like some radio stations, morning shows would kind of go back and forth with each other, have a small like radio war or something like that. But for the most part, like, if you weren't like in that type of radio where you would do something like that, like, it's like nothing else exists, because you don't want the audience to know that something else exists. Like, if they don't know it's a choice, they can't make it. Right.
Yeah. Which is dumb.
Yeah.
Number one, they're going to know about other channels. I'm pretty sure that my audience knows about other fucking channels on Twitch. Right. Like, I'm pretty fucking sure.
Yeah.
I think that at the end of the day, it's just fear. It's just fear. And if you have fear, especially in streaming, if you have fear, number one, your chat's going to fucking pick up on it. They'll know it. They'll know you're afraid. They'll know what you're doing. Then they'll know why you act the way that you do. And then that's, they're just gonna know. Number two, it's you don't have to be afraid. You don't have to be afraid of, and if you're afraid, you're not creating. Because if you're trying to, it's a paradox. Success, it's the success paradox. It's if you're trying to be successful, you won't be successful.
Yeah.
If you are just ignoring the outcome and thinking about what it is that you need to do in the moment to do what you want to do, then you will be. If you are constantly thinking about, am I going to win the game? Am I going to do this? Am I going to do that? You will lose. You will lose.
Yeah, if you overthink it. There's a weird balance of like being in the moment and being able to, because sometimes you slip in and out of that zone, right? Like, you get in 2 tenths of a standoff, and then and then it becomes at some point just waiting on someone to make a mistake.
Right.
It's like someone gets impatient,
Who did I watch? I was watching, I forget the name of the team. It was like the Rainbow Six Siege Championships. Well, it was one of the finals of the Invitational or something like that. And I think it was, I forget the name of the team. And these guys were up. They were literally 1 kill away from winning the whole thing. 1 kill away from winning the whole thing. And the guy who could have gotten the kill, you could just see that he got flustered, and he just let. I remember he was trying. It was on. I even remember the map, and I remember the shot, and all this kind of stuff. And he pulled out his SMG, and he was going to take this guy down, and screwed it up, and died. And he was the last guy. All he had to do was kill that one guy, and they would have won the entire finals.
Jeez.
And he flubbed it, and guess what happened? The other team came back and won the whole damn thing because they got in their heads about it. It's like that sports psychology stuff that we were talking about. Yeah. And I think that plays out over the long run, career wise or whatever, for whatever anybody's doing and stuff. It's you can trip yourself up. You can trip yourself up real good, Really good.
You can really trip yourself up when it comes to that stuff. And it's just, I don't know. But sometimes you have to, it's the whole failure thing we talked about earlier. You almost like have to have those moments to be like, okay, I can't let myself get there again, right? I can't let myself get that worked up, or that, sometimes it's just like, maybe next time I'd be just like a hair more patient,
Yeah.
But
if
you don't have that, you don't know it until you know it, though. That's the big thing I've learned about anything having to do with work, content creation, with any kind of endeavor you're going after. Like, you're not going to know the things you need to know until you have usually passed them by and missed them. And then you're like, oh, okay, next time I do this, I got to make sure I make this stop, or whatever happens. Right.
And even when you do know them too, you're still like, I still screwed that up. Like, you're going to make mistakes. Like, it's just, that's life. I guess that's life. It is a constant series of mistakes, and hopefully you just don't make, you try and make the right ones. And even if you do screw everything up, it's still fine. It's just, I mean, you're all gonna be dead, and you're all gonna be hanging with me by the end of it anyways. So who cares? It's like, you're not taking it with you. Like, trust me, I'm the guy that knows this. Like, relax, chill out, hit the follow button, have some fun, hang out. Who gives a shit about leaderboards or KDs or anything like that? God, that stuff is so annoying. And it's just like, just have fun, man. Like, I mean, try and chill out, try and see the best of yourself, and that's all you need to do. But people don't believe that for some reason.
Yeah, for some reason they don't. There's a you made some, and I was listening to you on Tardux. I'm going to keep bringing it up just because, like, I do my research. I try to do my research with people that come on.
I appreciate that.
And you were talking about the civilian world versus military world.
Oh yeah.
And how it's just kind of a mind fuck for a lot of people that are coming out of being in service and having to be amongst civilians again, right?
Did we really talk about that? Man, must have got deep on Tardux.
You guys got pretty deep. It was pretty good. And I was kind of like thinking about similar. There are similar vibes. Like, there's different levels to that kind of feeling, right? There's clearly the much more important, like, military and real world. But, like, I was thinking about it in aspects of, like, content creation, right? The people who are completely mired in the world of Twitch or YouTube or TikTok, and how it just doesn't make sense to anyone outside of the circle.
Yeah.
And how it's just kind of like, you don't know what dabbing is, or whatever the fuck it is, right? Whatever you're talking about, is like, you don't know what I'm talking about, and you're like, you're fucking weird. And then, but it even has
megalol, bro,
right?
Megalol, like what? Like, get this guy out of here, like that kind of thing. Yeah.
Have you Twitch talked with someone who's not into Twitch at all before? Have you said like omega lol?
This conversation you'll ever fucking have. Like, I have tried to explain, like, my parents are really funny. They don't get it. They don't. I have had friends from high school where I try to explain it to them, and they're like, I don't get it. It's like, I don't know how to explain it to you. I think it goes back to a little bit to that. We did talk about experiential stuff.
Sure.
like the experiential phenomenon of like being in something. And it's like, you can't understand it, right? It's like you can't step in the same river twice, right? Because the river that you had didn't exist. So it's like you just have to be there to experience it. Yeah. It's like going to a play. You ever gone to a play twice? That's like I've done that. They're different. They're always different. Every single piece of performance or art or anything like that is going to be different. Every painting is going to be different, even if it's the same subject and the same painting in the same way, from the same artist. It is, you have to be there to see it, to have it happen. And when you try to explain it to people, it's an awkward conversation, because you're literally trying to explain to them a life experience that is not very much explainable, because you can't reproduce it. In a lot of ways, you can't reproduce a stream. I think that's why you have good streams, and that's why you have bad streams. You can't, and you should have, like, some streams are going to be really good some days. I've gone and done streams and I'm like, man, there's a technical issue, or there's like an audio issue. God, audio issues, Jesus, don't even start. Oh my God, yeah. Oh, I hate audio issues. I don't like. Are you a sound engineer? Do you know sound engineering? Do you know sound engineering? Do you actually know sound engineering? Well, Lopez, you might get some DMs from me.
I wish I had a technical, like super technical background in sound engineering, but I just piece everything together, just like you probably are.
You and I are gonna have a talk. Fuck, this whole thing is fucked. No, it's not fucked, but it's fine. Like, I understand a little bit more about it, but like it's trying to explain outside of Twitch to somebody. I think it would be trying to explain like a painting to a caveman.
Yeah. Yeah.
They don't get it. Trying to explain video games as art to a painter is the same kind of thing. It's like, video games are art. Like, let's just understand that they're probably the most revolutionary piece of art or medium of art that will ever come around, because of its impact and just what it can do. Mm-hmm. And people don't get that. They'll never get it. And the people who don't get it are going to waste away. Like, I mean, you've got to, if you want to be in any medium, you've got to understand the impact it's going to have. And I think that there are people out there who really, really understand it. I think there are people out there who really understand that quite possibly streaming 5 years is not going to look like it's what it looks like right now. Like, we might have gone through, like you were talking about, that 17, 18, 19 period of Twitch. That might be Twitch's golden age. That might just have been what it was.
Very much so, yeah. I think it is. I think it's very, very possible, unless something huge happens. Yeah.
Like, I mean, do we know Twitch has made money?
Yeah.
I don't think we I don't think we do. I don't know. Like, I don't know if Twitch has made money from what I know, from everything I've seen. I don't know if it's just blind greed, or if it's just the fact that it's like, people take things for granted, right? Like, I mean, are we taking Twitch for granted right now? Like, the idea that I can just go onto a live streaming service and just stream, like, thank God there's YouTube, but I mean, what does that mean for the future of it, right? Like, I mean, could the Twitch days go? I'm sure everybody at Mixer thought that it wasn't like that, but Mixer's gone. There's other streaming services out there that are not as good, and but they are, like Facebook gaming. I don't know about you. I've never seen anybody on Facebook gaming. I don't know anything about that.
I have no clue. Yeah. That's what's weird, is like the microcosms even split off further, even within the realm of streaming, right? You're kind of like, all right, well, you have people who are on streaming live on YouTube, or streaming live on Facebook, like you said, or streaming live on Twitch. And like, we know nothing about that because we're in the Twitch world, Yeah. And that, and even so, then you jump in. Like, here's my thing, and my wife, it drives my wife crazy, but I can sit here and I can just I heart Huckabees any situation, just existentially pull it apart and just peel the layers, because so then you jump into Twitch, right? And then you have people that are like, well, I have no idea what Hunt Showdown is, right? Yeah. And then you have the Hunt Showdown people who's like, why the fuck would anyone play Minecraft? Like, you have people that are like that, and you're like, yeah, they can't fathom that other side of whatever wall they're looking at, right?
Yeah, it's hilarious where it's like, oh, I don't play Fortnite. I play this. I don't play these kind, like if you think about it, you're literally trying to form an exclusive club inside of an exclusive club.
Yeah.
Like you're partitioning your market so much to a certain point. And I guess people need to do that because, like I don't think people should be gatekeeping at all. Like I think sometimes Twitch might actually work against itself in a little bit of ways, because I think people come in and they see there's an entire language in there. Like, I mean, like emote language, we talked about this in the other show, but like how people are going to be studying what this stuff means. It's like you and I speak in another language that nobody understands, outside of Twitch.
Yeah. What is this hieroglyphics they've got going across the screen right now?
Like exactly. Like if you sit back and you can put up some really controversial things just through emotes, right?
Yeah.
Like somebody sits there, like LOL is an interesting thing to explain. I once used LUL outside of Twitch. Never do that again. Never do that again. You know why? Because it doesn't mean LOL to them. It means LOL to me on Twitch because we just laugh, right? Because that's what it means, lol. To them, it's loud, uncomfortable laugh. And I remember I used that, and then the person who I used it for called me and says, "Is everything okay? Are you all right? Why are you uncomfortable?" And I'm like, "Oh, I used lol outside of Twitch. Fuck, I'm stupid. God, what was I thinking?" Like, it's hilarious. And like, there's so many things that are there. And it's not only that, I love this hieroglyphics word. It's not only the thing that you have or that you understand and people understand about Twitch. There's there's just so many intricate things that are just even to you, right? Like I have my own like KEKW, right? But KEKW is another language was inside of itself. But that's an emote that's universal. But then I tap into the emote because I have my own emote that looks like that, and it's like Inception emote kind of thing, and that's hard for someone to come outside of Twitch and come into and see.
It's like a language dialect.
Yeah. And they don't understand. Like if we saw Omega Lol on a channel, people are like, "What's that funny looking circle?" Right? But we know what that means.
Right.
And it's not just the laughter emotes. There's like other emotes like Resident Sleeper. Like I hate that emote. I banned it in my chat because I know, like that's a pretty controversial emote.
Yeah.
You see, I'm not going to get into like the stupid edgelord garbage that you see.
Oh my God.
But yeah, you see like a bunch of emotes that are used in really, really horrible ways. And like, those are like identifiers of communities that are just out there, right? Like, I mean, they're everywhere, right?
And they test the waters. Can I do this in here? Can I get away with this in here?
Yeah.
And like we talked about in offline, I was like, you have to be very, very clear as to who you want around. Because if you just kind of, just like any shitty bar you walk into and there's like a bunch of like Nazi bikers hanging out, like you don't want to be there. Like you don't want that to show up in your chat, a version of that, right? Like there's a great story. I don't know if I talked about this on the podcast or if I was just talking to, I think I was just talking to my buddy J-Pod. He was visiting from out of town. First time, one of the odd thing too, like meeting people that you've met only online and then actually meeting them in person. Like, right. That's always like interesting. And so I was telling him the story that I heard, I think maybe a comedian talking about on another show. And he was just sitting in a bar in New York City one day. And he was just having a drink. It was a little dive bar. There was like him and maybe one other patron in there. And he said, this guy walked in who was clearly a skinhead, had some SS tattoos or, had something that was very, very much let everyone know he is, all about white power. And he sat down and wanted to order a drink, and he gets the bartender's attention and wants to order a drink. And bartender just looked at him for a second and then just like jumped over the bar, clocked the guy and threw him out of his bar and came back inside. Didn't even say a word to the guy. He's like, and he came back in and the comedian was like looking at him like, what is going on? He's like, you let one of those motherfuckers in here and they're all going to be here next week. He's like, they can't, you choose your ecosystem, and that's an extreme version of what I'm talking about, but it's not too far off. Like, honestly, some of the people you meet online are very much that, or they think they're that.
Yeah. It's the hate groups and stuff too, but it's also, I think that it's, to bring it to like, just to not soften it up a little bit. I don't want to use that word, but,
sure.
It's the type of like content you create and stuff like that. Like you need to have like, I always use this whenever this is a good segue to a couple of good insights that I've had from streaming.
Mhm.
Number one, you're not just there appealing to an audience. The audience is also there appealing to you as the streamer.
Yeah.
This is something that I don't think that a lot of streamers practice, even though they should. You're auditioning for them, for their follow and their sub and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They are auditioning for you. Don't ever forget that. It does not matter. Like one viewer is that is a really good thing. One troll in your chat is not sufficient enough for you to tolerate, because that person, you can fire that person right on the spot, and you should.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's different ways to handle trolls. I've gotten better at that. I used to, like, somebody would come in and say something negative and I would immediately ban them, but I've kind of taken not a softer turn to it, but I've tried to be much more instructive when I see it. I give them a chance and I kind of like respond, and I use like the cover of, death being death and like a cartoon character to like yell at them and stuff like that. And then like, oh, okay, that's not acceptable here. I get it. I understand.
Have you turned a troll before?
I've turned a troll. Oh yeah, I've turned a troll. I had one guy come in and no, I can't turn. There's types of trolls that you can't turn. Like, you can't turn the racist trolls. Like, if somebody comes in and they're racist or they're sexist or they're homophobic, you can't. I've started saying to somebody like that. I have started saying something like that. I've said, okay, you're gonna come in and you're gonna say that. I'm gonna forgive you straight up. And I say it in the mic. I'm like, I forgive you. I hope you figure out exactly why you would do something like that. And I hope that you figure out how to be a better person, but I am going to ban you, because I think that it's, and as much as I would like, to just grab the person and just kick the shit out of them, because you think that would give you some kind of like emotional thing. It's like, you can't do that.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a way that they can sit there and they can say, maybe I could actually be better, and I've done that, and I've actually had like ban appeals come back where they're like, I'm going to be better, and you're right, I shouldn't have said that and stuff. And then, some people, you're like, okay, if it wasn't too bad, you're like, okay, I'll let you back in, and you try and train them, because you've got to train them at a certain point. Everybody's got to stop like yelling at each other on social media and trying to get revenge and all this kind of stuff. And people have to start talking to each other. They've got to start talking to each other, because there's no end to it if it doesn't do that. So those kind of trolls, but like if it's like egregious stuff and it's like there's no hope for this person, no, they get fucking banned.
Sure.
But sometimes you can turn them. The ones that I've been good at, and I've actually like, that I actually really appreciate, are the ones who come in and criticize your content. Those are the guys, and if they're not being sexist, they're not being this, but they come in then you watch for like words like, I find your content cringy, or I find this channel, like, I wouldn't watch this. This is stupid.
But you're here.
And and it's like there's two ways you can do it. You can say, look, like, not every channel is going to be for everybody.
Yeah.
That's okay. I get it. This might not be your content. If you're looking for something like that, I can recommend somebody else. You're like, okay, go. That kind of thing. But sometimes a troll gives you some really, really, really good insight that not your regular viewers are going to give you. Your regular viewers already love you. You've already won them over. You're not going to learn a lot from them. They already love you. You've done your job on those guys. Those guys are probably the worst market research that you're ever going to have. The ones that are worth it are the ones that come in and they're like, I find your content to be this, this, and this. And you sit there and it's like, a lot of people will be like, they will take offense to that and they will do that. It's an opportunity to learn, because that person is actually coming in and giving you the most honest feedback, because there's no filter. They have nothing invested. They're not going to stay in your channel. Listen to what they say. If you think that there's a change to be made, then make the change. If you think it's a feasible thing and it's a thing. And I've said to guys, I say, listen, typically a lot of people would ban you. I'm gonna be cool about it and be like, you know what? I'm gonna thank you for that feedback, because that's good, because you know what? I want to get better as a streamer, and I want to get better as this kind of thing. Guess what? 7 times out of 10, that guy's gonna hit the follow button. Yeah, because he's like, that guy fucking listened to me. That guy listened to me, and I'll give him a chance. Maybe they won't. I'll come back all the time. Maybe they are actually like, this just doesn't appeal to me and stuff like that. Maybe, but but you know what? Sometimes maybe they turn out to actually be like a good viewer, you know?
It's amazing sometimes too how like one person can come in and whip everyone into a frenzy. Like, you know, just all of a sudden you're like, what just happened? Like you maybe you're locked into a moment in your game, and you look and you're like you wrap that up and you look over and you're like, what the fuck is going on here? Everybody's like everybody's just losing their minds, and you're like, oh, I missed something. I mean, usually a good mod will catch something like that, but man, sometimes that stuff can just spiral out of control because it could be a couple things. Someone came in and maybe they, you know, criticized the channel, and then especially if you've got a following, you know, they're going to be like, oh, we're going to get this guy, you know, and all of a sudden they're just coming to defend you, but then it just ends up being bigger than
or politics or religion or something that. And like, those are the kind of things where you're just like, okay, let's just drop that kind of thing, you know. But sometimes they whip it into a frenzy, and then you're like, but I think you've got to be, I think that's one skill that I've been very thankful for on Twitch is I've been able to let that shit go, you know, like just let it go. It don't matter. It don't matter. Like the momentary defense reflex that a lot of people have is just not worth it. You've just got to be like, and there are streamers out there who will take a guy who will say something stupid and like make content out of it.
Sure.
But you know, at the end of the day that streamer just don't give a shit about what that person's saying. It's not like they're really, really getting hurt. It's just they're playing to their audience kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it's good content because, like, you know, a good troll every once in a while is a good content where you fry them and stuff like that. It's pretty funny, you know, and it also keeps the rest of the lurkers who are thinking about saying something stupid and lying. So yeah,
it kind of puts that vibe out there, and part of what I think about when I think about you know, shaping a community that you've got under you, and just like really just knowing what you will and won't put up with, like boundaries, like we talked about before, because you know, a good audience can drive, just like with any radio show with callers, or with any kind of TV show with people who write in or anything like that, they can really drive the content if you form it right. Like, it can really be like, oh man, you should try doing this, and all of a sudden now you have a night where you do this one thing, and you know,
chat comes up with, like, I use a lot of scenes, right? Like like we've got this radio scene and all that kind of stuff, but we also do this, you know, like we have like breaking news and all that kind of stuff. That's all chat led content, right? What's the other one? Like if we're going to go into space, you know, like we can hang out in space and stuff. And this is where we have an existential crisis, and God, did this take forever to animate, and it was amazing. And I loved it. And I learned so much about animation.
Like the Enterprise there.
That's another thing that you got to, like, you know, learn. That's Keith right there.
There he is.
Richie said, man. Oh no, Keith is falling in. Oh, poor guy. He's gone. But like, you know, like stuff like that is like that's chat led content, because they come up with some really funny shit. You know, like chat's like an they're an asset, and when they're participating, it's like they come up, they know everything.
Yeah,
they think they know everything. Like, you ask them like a real world fact, they like, you know, they go silent for a second because they're all Googling it. But you ask them like anything about the game, they're like, oh yeah, listen, man, all you got to do is go in this room, and then like the briefcase is underneath the bed. Behind it, it's facing 90 degrees to the west. That's exactly where it is, Death. I know exactly where it is. Okay, and then do that. And the hit points on those bullets you're carrying, that's 50.4, and it also has a armor pen of 30 cents. Like, you just sit back and you're like, how the fuck do you guys know this stuff? Like,
there's sometimes where like I'll be watching a stream of a game that I play, like let's say Hunt Showdown, for example, like, and people are talking about the really technical side of like, oh, bullet travel speed, and you know, well, it used to be this and now it's this, and I'm just kind of like, I just kind of get that like glazed over look of probably like when I'm telling someone about like some kind of audio device that I bought, and my wife just kind of like starts staring off into space like, you lost me, it plugs into my computer, you know.
I could never be like an ARPG streamer just for that reason, because those guys know the stats on every single item, and like the drops and the rates, and you're just sitting there going like, I don't need to play the game, I just need to like go like listen to you chat. Like, you guys should just play the game, and I should just like sit here and learn, because it's just like, even though it's a lot of fun to do and shit like that. But
Yeah, like in this situation, I have a 32.3% chance of hitting a crit, and you're like, "What is going? How do you know that?" And like just based off of the moves before.
And guess what? Like they're right.
They are.
Right. That's why when I catch them on, and they're not. Fuck you, chat. I fucking knew it. I knew I was right. You were wrong. Shut your mouth. Get out of my chat. Please don't leave because still.
Yeah, get out, but don't leave. Just
fuck off.
Pretend. Pretend you're leaving. There you go. Yeah, I mean,
aggressive coffee cup.
I love it. Now you said you self-taught yourself like a lot of the animation stuff. How long have you been doing that? Like how long? Like at what point from the time you were like, this is kind of cool, let me see if I can make this happen, to now? Like how long's that been?
3 years. I would say like 3 years, like in-depth animation. Like actually like animating the scenes, I had to learn motion for Apple Motion on my own, which is a pretty awesome program. Once you learn it, it's pretty cool. But yeah, definitely. I just noticed a little kind of thing that I need to fix right now. But anyways,
making notes.
It's a lot of fun. I actually really enjoy that part of it. And it's honestly it's one of the things that I should do exclusively. Like it's as far as my content goes, I think that laying into the animation and like making the character just shine is what my channel should be more about. But I get locked up in like, I just love the people around me. Like I do.
I'm the same. It's the same. It's the thing that like I have so many, and I'm sure you've had them too. Because I know you've not too long ago you took a little bit of a break. You took some time off, and which I think is very important. But I don't think there's a lot of content creators that aren't in the position to do that, and it's unfortunate because they're like, I want to take some time off, but it's just like being, when I met my wife, she was in college and she was a bartender. If she took a vacation, she was just basically just saying, not going to make money for a week. Like, yep. It's one of those things. But like, yeah, it's just the accumulated knowledge that you get over time too. And which is with like the animation stuff you're doing with, all the equipment that you've purchased and have implemented. And it's just like, if someone were to walk into my studio, I'd be like, yeah, this is how I stream. And they're like, they wouldn't know what to touch first. Like if I fell over and I was like, you have to stream for me, and I pass out, right? Yeah. They'll be like, I don't even know where to start, bro.
I think I have to turn on the computer, and I think so. Wait, why are there two of them? What do I do with the mic? How do I turn the mic on? Do I press these dials? What do I press? Yeah. Like I have 4 stream decks on my desk. 3 XLs and 1 mini. The mini is just a extra one that I just happen to have, and I was like, it's very complicated. Like I don't even remember, like when I take it apart and I had to move like a bunch of stuff, I don't even remember how I had to put it back together. I had to redo every single thing, and it's very technical. It's a very technical thing.
How many times have you looked at a Telecaster?
A Telecaster?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Like a Telecaster for broadcasting, like that they actually professionally use instead of like a Stream Deck type thing. Never?
I've never seen them. Never. I just, this is all self-taught. And I think you have to have the ability to teach yourself in this profession.
And troubleshoot. Oh my God.
Yep. Troubleshoot. You got to understand what things are. And like you get to know, you're like, oh, this error. Oh, this one. Mm-hmm. This one happened. Oh, wait a second. What is that? Oh shit.
This is a new one.
This is. Or the worst is it happened 6 months ago, but you forgot the solution.
I hate that.
You're like, oh, wait a second, it's making that noise. I know why. I don't remember.
Yeah.
It's a dumb little setting that resets itself because there's an update somewhere on something, and you're just like, okay, whatever. It's like yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of amazing because because I do IT for work, and so I essentially elect to come in and do more IT with my hobby. It's just kind of like, all right, what's wrong now? Why does this look like shit? Why do I sound like this? Now I'm like sitting in a bed of wires under my desk. Like, what is going on?
Yeah.
Where is it at? And my wife's just like, are you okay in there? Yeah, I'm fine.
But then you walk out of here and you're like, I play video games for a living. Like, people don't get it. Like, they just don't. It's playing the video game is like maybe 15% of what I do.
Yeah.
Video editing. You got to become a video editor too. And you've got to be able to do that. You've got to be able to work with people. You've got to be able to lead artists and communicate your vision to artists as to what it is that you want to do. That's a communication skill that people pick up.
Yeah.
It's an all-encompassing career. It reminds me in a lot of ways. There's a concept in the military. This was more in the Canadian. It's called unlimited liability. Unlimited liability is the concept that it might not be your fault, but it's your responsibility. Right? So you are not responsible for everything, it's not your fault that everything messed up most of the time, maybe most of the time, but it's damn well your responsibility to fix it.
It falls on you in the end.
Yeah, because there's nobody here. Being a streamer is the greatest autonomy you'll ever have. It's also the most horrible autonomy you'll ever have, because nobody's going to come in here and fix this for you. Yeah. Nobody's going to come in here and fix this. Nobody understands how it works. You're the only one who understands it works. You're the only one who understands how to put your content out, which is, to me, the greatest thing ever, because my goal is I don't ever want to work for anybody ever again. I just don't. I've done my time.
Yeah.
I don't want a boss. I don't. The only person I need to keep happy is the missus upstairs, and that's it. And myself, as far as things go. And if she's happy, and she's like, yep, this is okay, you can keep doing this, then I'll be happy and keep doing this. That's okay. But it's that kind of, that's the one thing that I think is such a bonus. It's a scary thing though, because you've got to have the confidence to be like, he's going to do this. It's not chat's fault that you had a shitty stream, and it's not even your fault you had a shitty stream. It is just the luck of it. I've had days where I get on and it's like the weather, right? It's like,
yeah,
people are in the mood for me today, like they're just, something happened in the game, or something out there happened in the world, and they want to come to me for an opinion or something like that. Like, I mean, I sometimes get probably a little bit too opinionated on my show, but I don't care, because it's my fucking show. I can do whatever.
Show, yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, it's my fucking show. I can do whatever the fuck I want. I like when people come in and tell you what your content should be in a lot of ways and stuff like that. Like, yes, there are the trolls that you get the feedback from, like I mentioned earlier, and those things are okay. But there are people who will come in and say, you should be doing this. And you just sit there and just look at it and you go fuck yourself. This is my fucking show. I will fucking do what I want. And they think they have some kind of authority over you. And it's like, no, I work for myself. I don't work for anybody else. You can kiss my ass. And that is the most empowering feeling that it's given me, that stream has given me in a lot of ways. But it's also very scary, because you have to, there's nobody else that's going to help you, man.
You got to follow through, right? You got to follow through with that.
Yep.
Yeah, man. I don't, it's such a weird balance when, we talk about ecosystems and communities and stuff like that. Like, you have certain topics that come up and you just see people being like, I'm out. Like, I'll catch you guys next time, or something like that. Yeah. And it's tough because, like, especially with someone like you, right? You've served in 2 militaries. You've got dual citizenship. You've got what, 2 or 3 degrees?
I have 3 degrees.
3 degrees, right?
One, yeah. One's, yeah.
Assumedly, you're well read. Obviously, you like you don't get there just by not picking up some books, right? It's, you want to, something happens in the world, and you're like, hey, so someone tried to breach FBI headquarters today. The fuck, so that stuff comes up, and you're kind of like, well, I got an opinion on it, and like you said, it's your show. Sometimes go ahead.
No, go on.
Well, sometimes there's just those days where you're kind of like, I really want to talk about this thing, but I know I immediately say goodbye to a lot of people for the night. not forever. It's hard.
I think it also, I have figured out, and this is going to sound cynical, but it is about the views in a lot of ways. Like, it is very much about the views in a lot of ways. And it's hard to be I think sometimes it can get hard to be the person. There's no, I won't say it gets hard, because I don't think it's hard to be the person you want to be. I think that's the easy part. I think that the hard part is actually giving up the person that you want to be because you want to get the views. I think that there's a temptation out there, and I'm just not this kind of person. I just can't do this. I can't be the person that is will turn up the drama. I can't do it. I mean, you could break in controversy. And I've seen streamers who have done it, where they turn on this like Death is a character, right? Like, I mean, ultimately he is a character. He comments on the character and stuff like that. Yes, my own personality gets inserted into Death, and then there is some of that to me, but mostly he is a character, right? Like, and he should be a character. But there are people out there who, and it's easy for me because I'm a VTuber cartoon, right? Like, I mean, it's pretty obvious this is a character. I think the hard thing for me is to keep my own personality away from Death and let Death be a character, something that I think I should do more. But I also think that there are people out there who it's their face and they play a character.
Yeah.
And they do it for the controversy, and they will say things that are pretty fucked up.
Yeah.
Right? Like they'll say things that are like, we know why you're doing it. You're doing it because it's going to fire up your chat, and you're going to get you're going to get all these views, and you're going to get live stream fails and all this kind of stuff. Like I get what they're doing, like, I mean, they're baiting people into controversy, and it's a game. Like, there's a lot of really, really big streamers who are just, that's not how they are in real life. Like, there's no possible way that some of these people are just the way that they are. They're just not. I'm sorry, they're not. They're not that way. They are playing to an audience, and they're firing that audience up because they know that that audience will return, and that they'll talk in the chat, and then they'll stay. And they're like, oh, I can't believe he's doing this.
They'll share the clip, all that stuff, right?
Yeah. And that's the game that they play. And it's a struggle to sit back and to go, do you want to go down that route?
Yeah.
Right. I find it for myself personally a struggle to walk down the route, because I'm not into that. I can't, it's not me. I don't, at the end of the day, it's like, if I am compromising my integrity for something, I'm not preaching like I'm some kind of like ethical fucking like weather vane or something like that,
right?
Or anything like that. But it's like, if I imagine, like, there are certain streamers out there who bully people in their chat. They gaslight the shit out of their chat, and they do it in a really, really, really horrible manner. I can't do that. I can't. If I ever would like I will roast somebody in chat, but I have had, and I guess I've had moments where I've either given into like anger or something, and I've had people come back and they say, what you said really hurt me, and I'm like, fuck, like, that's a real thing. That's a real thing, and you never do it again. You never do it again. Once you realize, you're like, okay, wait a second, I can hurt people with this, and there's some people out there who don't care, and that's and because it's all about money,
Yeah,
and that's sad. That's really sad to see.
Well, and even the little moves you have to make sometimes, like something will happen in the world and you'll be like, okay, I'm streaming tonight. Does this get addressed? Do I take the fucking night off? Cause I don't know if I can keep it out of my mouth, and that's tough.
There's some things where it's like, I've been more comfortable with that as time's gone on, because I've, when you see things like the Roe v. Wade decision, stuff, like, it's gut-wrenchingly fucking, and I'll take a stand on this any day. As a husband, as a brother, as a son to amazing women, as a nephew to amazing women, when they all tell you that this is hard for them, and you sit back and you're like, wow, this is fucking hard for them. Yeah, I'll take a fucking stand any day. That's not a hard stand to take, really. It shouldn't be a hard take to stand up for women's rights. It just shouldn't be. And I just that kind of thing. I don't care. I will go on my Twitter and I'll be like, hey, guess what? I support women's rights to control their own bodies.
Mm-hmm.
And people will sit there and I'll say, good, unfollow me. Like, at some points, you've got to be willing to like lose some viewers.
And how fucking mind blowing is that to have to be like, to realize and be like, oh, well, of course, yeah, unfollow me. To have to even have that conversation and be like, I'm unfollowing you, bro. Stick to games, man.
Like, just play the game. And it's like, no, I'm not just going to play the game and all that. I try to be like even like, you get people in there with different viewpoints and stuff like that. I've had, for some reason, like, because I play Tarkov and like Hunt, the Second Amendment comes up for way too many fucking times. Like, it comes up way too much, and it's like, I don't own guns. I don't want to own guns. I mean, I have probably more experience with guns than the typical fucking civilian does. And I'm probably safer with the damn things and all this kind of stuff. And it's not something that I sit back and I go, wow, I really need like all these guns and rifles and stuff. I don't admonish people that do that kind of thing if they do it, legally, and they do it ethically and they can do those kind of things. But at the same time, I'm like, this is pretty fucking crazy, right? Like, I mean, there's some pretty fucking crazy shit and there's something wrong, and it shouldn't be controversial to say that. It just shouldn't be, right? Like, if people are dying, then it should, or if something bad is happening, you shouldn't have to be like, wow, I gotta really fucking take a stand today, man. I Jesus Christ, I gotta go in and I gotta do this and I gotta be like, man, I gotta really fucking, you shouldn't care as much about your stream. If you care about your stream that much, then you shouldn't be streaming.
Yeah.
If you care about your numbers or your viewership enough to the point where you are fucking adopting a position on something that you wouldn't otherwise adopt, you need to quit streaming. You really do. You really, really do.
Well, and in some cases, I know that for some people, going to something like Twitch or watching, a certain channel on YouTube or anything like that is an escape, right?
Yeah.
It's, you get those people that are like, I don't come here for that, and it's like, well, I mean, there's other places to go. You can come back later,
Yeah. And that's true. That's true to an extent. And you could be a Hasanabi. And I'm sure there's 1,000 of them out there. You could be like a Hasanabi or something like that,
sure.
Which is, like, or you could be, very, very much going to the politics and stuff like, and things. I think that in a lot of ways, when it's big, and it gets big for me when it starts to penetrate my bubble. Right. Like, it's like, I kind of like, I don't want to live in, like, I think we all went through like that period of time where we're like, God, I'm just going into a bubble because I can't deal with this anymore. Right. Kind of thing.
This silo is cozy.
Yeah. This silo is cozy, and I'll wait until a certain time to go to the voting booth to change all this shit.
Right.
That kind of thing. Like, you kind of have to do that for like mental health stuff to maintain your own fucking sanity, because if you don't, you're just going to be driven crazy by it. When it penetrates that, and it's like a fundamental right was taken away, that's fucking scary. Like, that kind of thing scares and it should scare the shit out of you.
Yeah.
When it's that big and it's that bad, you should speak up. People should speak up, and they should speak up about those kind of things. But I also believe that people are going to be more willing to take you seriously if you present a measured understanding of things. That's not to say the both sides argument stands, because the both sides arguments is a fucking bullshit thing.
Sure.
Both sides doesn't. There's not both sides to some issues. There's a right way, and there's an ethical way, and there's a wrong way.
Yeah.
There's an oppressive way to address an issue. But when you have like certain things where it's like, yeah, you can present dialogue because nobody talks about dialogue anymore, right? we go on Twitter and we unfollow all the people we don't like and all this kind of stuff, because they take stands that we don't like, and I think that if I run into somebody who's like counterpoint argument, it's like, engage them, and first off, listen to them, even if like you're like, wow, this could be like, I suspect this people might hold other views and stuff like that. Listen to them, and then get them to try to listen to you. You might not agree with what they say. They're probably not going to agree with what you say, or vice versa, and all that kind of stuff. But, if you don't do that, the end result is that eventually at some point, you see it throughout history, and I have an MA in history, for crying out loud, is that when that dialogue shuts down, that's when things get scary, right? Mm-hmm. That's when things actually get scary, and everybody's like, "Oh, it can never happen," and all that kind of stuff. It could always happen. Because people throughout certain points of history have always been, the bad things always come. They always come when people think it couldn't happen.
Yeah.
Right. And so you, as an individual content creator, yes, you can present a human face to somebody about something that you have an association about, that you have something in common about, and they can like you and go, wow, I really respect this person because I get to know them a little bit more, and they actually like have like, they're a stand-up person and they do like good things and all that kind of, they like, I've seen them do charity streams, or I've seen them do something like this for a viewer, or they've gone and done this. It's like, but they disagree with me on this big point. Maybe I should listen to them a little bit more, and like maybe everybody else should have their views challenged a little bit. And I'm not talking like, there are some issues where it's like, there's not a both sides thing. Sorry, there's not. There are certain things that you have to stand on, but don't let those things override the humanity that you see in other people, because you've got to, and it's a fine balance, and you've got to find that balance, because the only other option is that we become like something else, that some other place in the world where there is no dialogue, right? That's the worst thing. It's when the talking stops.
Right. And having that open discourse is super important. And it presents an interesting challenge for, I'm sure, a lot of other people who put content online and want to have shows and stuff like that. Like my original reason for ever getting into radio, back in the day, like I didn't decide I wanted to go into radio until I was like in my like early 20s, maybe mid 20s. And it was like,
right.
But I realized that I really did enjoy having like current events class in high school, and, any kind of like discussion. Debate was okay. Debate was fine. Like, but not like the formal debate. I like to have like a normal sit down conversation back and forth with people. Right. And I was like, well, part of the reason why I want to go to that, I would love to get paid to sit around and talk shit with my friends. Like, I thought that'd be a lot of fun. But my overarching reason was like, maybe with my radio shift today or doing this show, I can make one person at least think about this one topic in a slightly different way. Not that they need to agree with my side, my view of it, but at least it's almost like maybe I can provide some empathy, to someone that didn't have it before, right?
Yeah.
And it's been a unique challenge, especially the past, 3-4 years has been an interesting challenge, because it's really hard to bring up any story. Like, I'm talking about like stories that would just be throwaway stories on a radio show. Like, you hear this? Elon Musk is going to buy Twitter, blah, 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 something like that, where it'd be like, this is crazy. We never thought anyone would buy Twitter, but then it somehow every story winds back to, okay, how is this political? Like, it ends up, someone in chat says, yeah, well, the political contributions of blah blah blah, and you're like, oh god, dude, I just want to be like, it's crazy this billionaire wants to do some crazy billionaire shit. Like, go ahead.
A lot of that, I think, is like, it's everything's got to have a political slant and all this kind of stuff, and it's like, it doesn't, it not necessarily is. It's you're conveying the culture you live in.
Yeah, right? I think people have
like
come to expect that like now. So now everybody braces for that rather than just be like, oh, this story's kind of fucking crazy, Yeah.
I okay, like this. I'm gonna plead Canadian here for a second,
sure,
because This is one thing where I don't understand about the States when I've I grew up in another country and I come here and stuff, and I think there's just functional things that are just, I think one thing that really makes it hard in the States to have actual discourse is the fact that there's timed elections. Right? I think that a timed election is this is like getting the mechanics and stuff like that. But people make determinations based upon timelines as to when they can seize power and when they can't get, right? I mean, it's not like that in Canada. It's like we don't discuss a lot of politics, so we don't get a lot of fervent political stuff going on that much. Because why? Because every 3 to 5 years there's an election, right? And you don't know when it's going to be, and it's going to be for 2 months, and everybody has their little political discussion, and then they walk away.
Yeah.
But here, it's like as soon as one election ends, the next one starts.
Yeah.
Right. And it's just this constant over and over and over again of conversations about politics, and then it's like, that there are balance sheets and income statements or like business plans out there that are based upon capitalizing on the next political cycle and stuff. And it's like there's this profit incentive, and it's like, okay, and then you tie up all this money into it, and it's like that kind of like Twitch thing where it's like, hey, we need to drive views on this, and it's like I'll guarantee you that there's a bunch of executives who were sitting around in like left-wing, not, I guess you could say left-wing. I don't really subscribe to the fact that like people are dyed in the wool left or right, but I think there's tinges of everything. But there's like media companies who are like, man, I really wish that guy was back in office. Fuck, I really wish it. Our bottom line was so damn good. Our viewership was like through the roof and all that kind of stuff. Man, if we could get him elected again, maybe we can like stir up the controversy. We had a lot of people watching us, and we presented a view that kind of like corresponded to what that audience wants, and I could segment that. There's that calculation's going on. Fuck yes, that calculation's going on. Like that kind of thing is happening, and it's sad to see. And it's sad to see those kind of things. I think there's a few mechanical things that could be done that could change that kind of thing. But yeah, the overriding culture of all this stuff happening. I think that I can't understand. I don't think I'll understand it until well, I don't think I'll ever understand, because I'll be long dead by the time we actually get to a point where you can objectively look at this time. It's hard to assess your own period where you live historically, because you're living it, right? Like you have your own biases and stuff like that. Like it's really, even like looking back, it's still hard to like, you can never really approach what really happened kind of thing. But you could, like, I could look at like, I don't know, I used to study witch persecutions in Germany in like the 1500s. Like I could pretty much understand exactly, kind of what happened, right? Like without any like biases or implicit things inside that I would be saying. But it's hard to do that today. But I think that when people actually like try to understand what's happening now, it's like I don't have an answer as to why these things are happening. I have my own things I think could be this and could be that. I don't know why everything needs to be political. The only thing I can say is I would kind of blame it on the old culprits of this is to somebody's economic benefit. Somebody somewhere is like, this is benefiting somebody, and they like this way, and this is the way that it's going to go because it benefits them, and there's no incentive to change it. I think that's probably the best way to look at it.
Yeah, and the interesting point that you brought up about the every 4 years election cycle. Like it becomes, as soon as, like you said, as soon as one ends, let's start the clock, let's start counting it down. And like it kind of becomes like, for half the people it's a countdown till it's over. For half the people it's a like countdown so they can like breathe a sigh of relief. And then it's like, it's kind of like I feel about vacation, right? When I go on vacation, there's a good, like, we're there for 7 days, there's a good 3 or 4 days where I'm having a great fucking time. I'm like, man, we still have 4 days of vacation left. We still have 3. And then at some point there's a switch that flips and we're like, oh man, there's only 1 or 2 days of vacation left. Like, what the fuck? Like it's that whole thing. And that I haven't really thought about it like that.
legislatures, like you only really get like 2-3 months of legislation out, right? Because immediately they start running for midterms, and then the midterms over, you get another 2-3 months. It's like it's the most inefficient form of government ever. It's hilarious,
and they have to.
Like,
they have to. If they don't, then they're going to lose. Like if they're not like constantly on top of people's minds, they're going to lose. And so it sucks. They're like, it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't the entire time. And it's just a terrible cycle to be in.
Yeah. It's an interesting time as far as that. I think that the best thing though that people can do, and I think that if you want to bring this back to like a content creation kind of thing, because this is where we started with this discussion. It is as an individual content creator, just recognize that there are people in your chat who are going to disagree. There's not a universal right answer to a lot of things. There are certain things though that you shouldn't move on, you know, like there's just certain things that are like, yes, like, can we all agree that like, the killing of a human being is maybe a bad thing, you know, like, you know, that, well, maybe you can't even take a position on that because who knows where that's going to go. All right. But like that, like stealing a car is wrong, right? Can we all say that? Like stealing cars is wrong, right? Stealing certain cars is a bad thing, right? Mm-hmm. Robbing banks is bad, right? There's certain common denominators. Like spending time with the family is probably good for most people, right? You know, like having good jobs is a good thing. Like those are things that people can all agree on and stuff like that. And you as an individual person who's out there and you actually have a community, is that you can build consensus among people and you can build respect and you can set that example and all that kind of stuff, you know, like that's what you can do, you know, that's what you can do as an individual person. And when you get those kind of things and like that stuff happens in your chat, you know, it's okay. It's okay. You have an opportunity there, and even as bad as things get, it's okay. Still remember, don't give into the fear and all the stuff that people are trying to feed you and all this kind of shit. Because as soon as you give into fear, you're under their control. You know, as soon as somebody makes you afraid of something in a lot of ways, unless it's absolutely serious, you know, and stick by your principles and stay calm and all that kind of stuff. You know, it's like, yeah.
As soon as you feed that troll and give them what they want.
Right?
It's over.
What they want.
It's over. How does the we're going to start wrapping it up here in a minute, but how does the history buff in you feel about things right now? Like, do you see any similarities? Do you?
That's a hard question. I don't like what I see in a lot of ways, but I also do like to see some things that I have seen even lately. I think that legislating is a really good thing.
Yeah.
I think that you should have a legislature that legislates.
Yeah.
Controversial thing, right? Like,
well, and to not have to just have them essentially be pulling two jobs. One is selling themselves and one's making laws. It just feels it's very, very inefficient. It's incredibly inefficient. And I know we're not saying anything crazy, but it's like, you know.
I will say this, that there are nuances to the system that once you realize as to why they're there, they're very different. You kind of appreciate them. Like I do believe that. Like I think like if you want to look at Congress can work, and Congress is like the way that it's set up. It's very interesting. It is an anti-tyranny machine. Believe it or not. It's supposed to be. That's what it's supposed to be, and in a lot of ways, it is. Right? Like it is not. It is designed to destroy. If you really want to study your history and like people like really want to like learn about that kind of stuff, the separation of powers and the separation of like the judicial and executive and all that kind of branches and stuff like that. Learn those kind of things. This is one thing that I think that people on the ground can do. Is they can learn. And instruct their chats and be like, yo, like I had a guy on Twitter the other day say, he said, voting's the problem. Said voting's the problem. And I just sat back and I was just like, it's like, you gotta be kidding me, dude. It's the problem. Like, what are you saying?
I'm sure he had a great solution. What was that?
Oh, of course, you know, like we're going to overthrow the government or something like this, right? Okay. You know, like this kind of thing. Like, yeah, you're just going to set up a whole system of government that everybody's going to believe in, like, and it's going to last for 300 years and stuff like that. It's like no, voting's not the problem. It's the ignorance that people don't think that they have power, and they do. And it doesn't matter if you're involved. It's like, take time to think about the things that you have. Like I say this all the time. Take time to think about it reasonably. Compare it to your values. Make a decision. Go vote. But don't vote based on fear. Vote for the long term. Vote for something that is not going to give you the short. Vote for something that if you vote for short-term security, you will give up your long-term freedoms. You will, every single time. That's what happens with when governments fail. That's how governments fail. It's when the people decide that they need the short-term security because they're afraid of something. That they decide that they're going to hand it over to somebody who's going to give a solution, and that is where that's all throughout history. That goes back to the Roman times, right? Like, I mean, that's where even like when the fasci was like formed, like that's how fascists are what they're named after and stuff, right? It's like they unify behind a single dictator. You know, all of our nomenclature comes from that and stuff. So it's, if you go back into those eras, yeah, you've got to fucking be like, yo, this was bad back then and this is bad now, right? It's hilarious because Western civilization is this weird thing that has been carrying on the same debates for 3,000 years. Like, it's just you go back and you read like Livy, go back and read Livy, go back and read Herodotus, and you just sit back and you go, oh, okay, I can see where democracy. Oh, those are the same kind of things that democracy had the problem with. Oh, wow. Okay, this is the same kind of thing we're struggling with now. We've been doing this for, like, I find it comforting in that sense, is that we know we've been doing this for a long time. Mm-hmm. We know that we've been having this debate for a very, very long time, and we've been relatively okay. You know, it's just it's the players are the same. The play is the same. The actors are different in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
So is there things where I go, it's kind of like, you know, gives me cause and pause for concern, but there's also things that give me like comfort, because we know that eventually people are going to get sick as shit, and they're going to be like, yeah, we didn't vote. We didn't want that. That's not what people will wake up. You know, you got to be skeptical of people, but at the same time, you got to have a little bit of faith in them, because they will make the right call eventually.
Yeah.
Americans always do the right thing after they have exhausted every other possibility. They always do. They're like, can we try every other stupid idea first? Yes. Okay. Finally, we'll hit something, and then I guess we'll just do the fucking right thing. I guess
here's the one. All right. Yeah. Here's the one.
I guess we'll do the right thing, Janine. Jesus. Fine.
So I got
give them the rights. Sign the bill. Okay, sorry.
I gotta ask you, like, so as we're wrapping up this conversation, like, have you ever had a talk show, or have you ever done interviewing or anything like that, or is this just no? You just always had the gift of gab?
Yeah, I love hearing myself talk. That's why I like streaming. Nobody can stop me.
Is your wife like mine? She just fucking loves it too.
Oh yeah, she loves it. Oh yeah.
This is amazing.
She's all over that, me having conversations and just they go nowhere. It's awesome. She loves it. I always wonder why she is not upset that I stream at night sometimes, because she's probably just upstairs getting some peace and quiet, you know.
She's like, I don't have to hear him talk. This is great.
I did daytime streaming for a little bit, and then I went back to nighttime streaming. She didn't say a word for some reason. She didn't get upset. She was like, oh, you're gonna go back to nights? Oh, okay. That's I'm real happy. That's fine. Whatever makes you happy, huh?
I support you. I think it's a great idea. That's amazing.
All power to you.
I know that you've been back into the whole working out thing. What is your guilty pleasure right now, as far as all right, I'm gonna treat myself today. What are you pulling out of the fridge? What are you going out to grab? Anything?
Jeez, sorbets lately.
Really?
Sorbets. Oh yeah, sorbet. No, yeah, I did go from I did lose 80 pounds.
Jesus.
I was really happy about that.
How long did it take?
It's probably only 6 months.
It's not bad. Got back into running. I know that.
Yeah, it was. I had a series of injuries coming out of the military, and I just finally one day was just like, I want to run again. I don't care how slow I go. I don't care how much it hurts. If it hurts, I'll just go slower. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
And then I started to run, and it was one of those like, you ever seen, you know, the fable about the elephant, the baby elephant who like gets tied to the little pole, and like baby elephant, right? They put it up back, and they put like a string on the baby elephant, and they put a stake in the ground, and the baby elephant can't pull away from the string, so it learns that it can't pull away from the string. And and then it grows into a huge elephant, and then it still looks at the string and goes, even though it could just walk away and break it easily, it still sits there and doesn't try to break the spring. That's what it was like with injuries. It's like, I was like, oh, I'm injured, therefore I can't do it, therefore I shouldn't try. But then when you actually try to actually like break the string, you're like, oh shit, I can break the string real easily, and it's easy. It's easy. It's damn easy. You can do it. You just have to do it. It's one of those things where it's like, you just form it, and it becomes a habit, and then you just do it, and then you miss it. It's like I today I worked out, and I hadn't worked out in 3 days afterwards or something like that, because I had a bunch of stuff and had a migraine yesterday. I was going to work out, but I couldn't. And then I was happy as hell today. I've been running today, and I'm just like, yeah, I love it.
It does wonders, right? It does wonders for your attitude. Like I was really, really into running. Probably, I guess, right up until COVID kind of hit. I mean, I was never a great runner. I've always been kind of an overweight dude, but you know, I had gotten up to where I could do a comfortable 10K, right?
Right.
And I just got to get back to it. Like that's been my thing. It's just like you said, just jump back into it. Just stop making it. Like my thing is like I'm better at working out in the mornings. And getting up in the morning fucking sucks. I hate it. I'm a snooze guy. Ugh.
Yeah, I that is another thing I think that the content creation life allows me, is that I don't have to work on anybody else's schedule.
That's great.
I don't do 9 a.m. I'm sorry, I just don't do it. I got up at I remember U.S. Army. I ended up getting up at 4:30 every single morning for 4 years.
Whew.
Every single fucking workday morning, and I hated it. And I was like, I don't do that anymore. And I set my own schedule, and I find I'm more creative at night. I find I'm more creative, like, you know, I have better conversations around this time. It's just, I just know myself enough to know that. And, but what I think I said this on Sigma's podcast, too, is like, I put aside those 2 hours every morning. 1 hour for 1 hour. I don't look at social media. I don't look at computers. I don't turn on anything. I put on some music. I go and I grab and I write and I read for an hour, and I learn something and I reflect on something. And like, yeah, it sounds kind of hokey, but damn it, reflect on something, do it. Because you'll really surprise yourself with what you come up with. Yeah. And then I go work out. And those 2 hours are nobody else's. I don't let anybody dictate. I understand like people got kids and stuff like that. And it's like that's a hard thing when you have kids, and you gotta do those kind of things because their needs come first or whatever.
Yeah.
But find those 2 hours that are yours and protect them every single day. And if you do that, you've improved at least a little. You know, you've improved a little, and you're ready for the rest of the day.
I like that.
That's key. That's so key. I think, and as a content creator, it's such a mental health thing, because you can get burned out really, really quick. And like, don't be afraid to take days off and stuff. Like, I mean, you have to take a day off. You have to take time off. You have to be able to put aside all that stuff and let that go and do what you got to do. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Go running.
Yeah. Got to do something, because man, it after a while, like you said, you just get into a funk. I mean, we know so many content creators, and we inevitably, you just see it. You see it. It goes like a ripple effect through Twitter and social media. Is like, I got to take a break, guys. I'll be, I'm just too burnt out, and you just kind of like, they kind of let it go too far,
Yeah, I know there's streamers like I one guy's Co-Carnage, and he did 2,000 stream days in a row.
Jesus.
And that was that's an amazing accomplishment, but he's doing what he loves, right? And I guarantee you he had something set up where he was like, I'm going to do this the right way and stuff like that. Like anybody,
smart dude. He's a sharp guy.
Yeah, he's a super smart dude, and he's a super motivated guy, and he's I think he's the exception rather than the rule in a lot of
100%.
ways. I but I think he's a very fascinating person. I'd love to have a conversation with him.
And you can watch him and you can see it's like, oh, this isn't just the fact that he's just been doing it forever. This is the fact that he knows what he's doing.
He's a fucking gamer. Like that guy is a gamer. Like he is not someone who is like, I'm playing video games. It's like that guy loves video games. Like it is his passion, and he's just as passionate about that as he is about his family and his kids and all. And it's just, he's a wholesome, awesome. He's a very big inspiration in a lot of ways. He's a guy that shows that you don't have to do the controversy stuff, you know?
Oh, 100%.
He's a guy that shows that you can be a very accepting, non-controversial person and be open and you'll be fine. You'll be fine, you know? I find it's a lot easier when you start to let, like the troll thing we were talking about, when you let the trolls go and you don't worry about what people think about you. Yeah. You can do whatever you want. You can be successful at it. You just have to let yourself do it. You know, you're the only one really standing in your way.
Right. Even when you say, I'm doing what I want to do and it doesn't bother me, a lot of people are still letting it bother them. They're just not saying it. Right.
Yeah.
Cool. Anything, you watching anything right now? You suggest anything on TV, movie?
I would say, oh God, let me see. I just finished watching Solar Opposites. That was really good.
Ooh, yeah, I started that.
Yeah, that's a really, really good, from the guys from Rick and Morty and stuff like that. Rick and Morty season 4. Oh my God.
I know you're on board with one of my picks for this week. Prey.
Prey is excellent.
Hulu?
Prey was very excellent on Hulu. I'd also highly, highly recommend Paramount Plus Strange New Worlds.
Okay.
I loved the old Star Trek, and this captures a lot of the old Star Trek. I do a lot of horror movies as well. I just finished watching something very, very messed up called Mad God last night. That was one of those ones where I was like, thank God I wasn't stoned for that. Like I really was like, I'm so glad I wasn't stoned. Like that would have been bad. That would have been really, really bad. Like I was completely sober and I still have like issues with it, but it was a really impactful something to watch if you're into that kind of stuff. Like, I mean, I do a lot of horror games and stuff like that. So horror is actually a really fun thing for me.
That's awesome. Yeah, I've got so Prey we just watched the other night and we just wrapped up it's an FX show, but The Bear is on Hulu, and it's
I've heard The Bear. I've heard about The Bear a lot. I've heard about The Bear. Attack on Titan, that's another one.
Okay, yeah.
I do end up watching a lot of stuff. I think you got to be like you've got to be willing to make sure that you are up to date on culture.
Yeah.
When it comes to this job, because people will know. Like, and I watch all like anything that's like even like Disney related stuff. It's funny. It's like I have a subscription to Shudder and I have a subscription to Disney Plus. Like, how do you fit that in, right?
Are they getting ready to start their like 61 days of Halloween or whatever it is? Like,
Shudder.
Shudder.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah.
I always get Shudder. Like I don't keep it all the way throughout the year, but I definitely have it like in those like month or two around Halloween, because I love that they've got like some live channels like that you can just turn on and be like, oh, there's something already playing. Okay, sure.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah. So
yeah, it's a really good service. I think that one really works out really well. I think like, and it shows all the like the old 80s stuff, and it's just so good.
Super campy stuff. Yeah.
They're showing Piranha right now. God, that was a fantastic
I wouldn't get in there was a summer where I wouldn't get in a lake because of Piranha. When I was a kid, it was terrible. It's terrifying. It's so terrifying. Well, Death, thanks for being on. Guys, if you want to follow Death, it's at Games with Death on all the social media. Games with Death on YouTube, Games with Death on Twitch. I'll have all the links in the description of the podcast and in the description of the videos that we shot today. And if you want to follow me, it's at Lopez Radio on most social medias. Yeah. On all social medias, Twitter mostly, but
go follow him.
Yeah,
right now.
Give me a follow. Death, thanks for being on, everyone. I hope I catch you next time, and don't forget to rate, review, subscribe, whatever you do, and we'll catch y'all next time. Death, thank you so much, buddy.
Thank you, sir. Great to be here.
Absolutely.